Couple of day games, plenty of night games, and you want to know what should I bet on? Well, we got you taken care of right here on First Pitch on WagerTalk TV. I'm Dan Alexander, and joining me are three of our favorite guests here. It is Steve Merrill, Jimmy Adams, and Tokyo Brandon getting you ready to go for the Wednesday slate here. And if you love the knowledge the guys are dropping, all we ask you to do, hit that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss any of the programs here, especially when we give you a little early edition of First Pitch. Let's get into it, boys. We'll start with our man Tokyo Brandon. You know he loves those pitcher props and hitter props. I'm wondering which one he's going with when we're talking Tigers and Yankees here, Brando.
Yeah, I love the props on DraftKings that are outs recorded for pitchers. And the reason I like it is because the numbers are a lot softer than the strikeout numbers. The reason being is because generally there are more outs that a pitcher throws than strikeouts. So it's much easier to gauge an over under on something that's, for example, 17 than it is for something that's 6. There's a lot more room for variance. So there's a lot more chance to win, in my opinion. The strikeout numbers are really sharp, so I didn't find much success doing that. I do like the outs recorded, so I'm going with Manning today. And if you could, I made a little graphic to show everyone, which you can see right there. And so what this is I've been doing these projections all season, and you can see on the first one there, Matt Manning there, he's averaging 17 outs per start. And the difference between the projection and the average would be how much that team allows a starting pitcher to extend his starts. So the Yankees are averaging 0.4 extensions for starting pitcher starts. And the book has this at 15.5. Look, Matt Manning is averaging 17 outs per start. He just shut the Yankees out in 6 innings the last time he faced them. A lot more to go in this. He has so to get 16 outs means you are pitching 5.1 innings. So he has pitched 5 1/3 innings in 9 of his last 10 starts, and he's done it 7 starts in a row, including against these Yankees. So I realize this is a hitter's park. I realize that the second time you face a pitcher 2 times in a row, the hitter has a slight advantage. But Manning is just one of the most efficient pitchers in Major League Baseball. Not only is he averaging 17 outs per outing, but he's only averaging 88 pitches per start, which means he's mowing through those innings at a hellacious rate. So he's only averaging that many pitches. I don't see how he can't get 16 outs in this game unless the Yankees just jack him for 7 runs or something like that, which I don't see it happening. He's got a 102 whip. So I really like Matt Manning for over 15.5 outs recorded today against the New York Yankees.
And Tokyo Brandon, nice you to break out the crayons, make a graphic for the folks. It takes me back to our Asian Baseball Today show
Yep,
days when you would come with
you
the
got it.
graphics, homemade. That's how Tokyo Brandon does it. I love it, brother. So definitely check him out as well. He's got a 4% rocking today. You can find more over at his page, wt.buzz/TB. And maybe you'll find some of his nice drawings there as well. Steve Merrill's also with us. Steve, you want to take a look at the O's and the Angels, and the O's are going for 5 straight. They escaped from Anaheim yesterday with a 1-run win. So I'm wondering, how are you betting the nightcap tonight?
Yeah, Dan, I like themes, and the theme the last several weeks I've been on the show with you for the big game breakdowns have been to fade teams that are not trying hard anymore, right? We did that with the Mets a couple weeks ago with success with both the Royals and the Orioles fading the Mets when they had become sellers at the beginning of August a month ago at the trade deadline. Well, one team that didn't become sellers were the LA Angels, and they played hard for a little bit. They kept Otani, and then they started to hit a slide, and they knew the season was over. Now he can't even pitch anymore with a slight injury. And needless to say, this is a team to be very careful with. And I brought that up on Monday's show here. I used the Orioles as my free play Monday night, and they did cash that game 6-3. And as you mentioned, they squeaked out a 5-4 win last night. They've now won 5 straight, as you said. But more importantly, the Angels have now lost 8 of their last 9. They're the definition of a falling knife and a team that we cannot back until we see otherwise. And so this is a pretty short price. We get the third best record. Actually, I'm sorry, the second best record in baseball. The Orioles have a better record than the Dodgers now. They're behind only the Braves for the best record in baseball against a team that has nothing to play for, that has tossed the towel. So what is the price on this game? 200 minus 300? Nope, minus $1.35. And this is why the
Mm.
Orioles have been the best moneymaker in all of sports for the past 2 years now. I mentioned on Monday's show, they're up over 55 units the last 2 seasons. Well, they cashed both Monday and Tuesday. They're now up over 57 units on the money line. And they're still laying just $1.35. They remain underpriced. Now, if you're worried that maybe the Angels are starting to heat up, and it does look like that offense is picking up, they put up so far, 13 runs the last 3 games after putting up just 3 runs at Oakland the first 2 games.
Yep.
And they have gone over, by the way, in 7 of their last 8 games. So you could hedge it a little bit with the over here. The Orioles are the only way to play this side, but I wouldn't talk you off a little bit of the over 8.5 as well, just in case that Angels offense is starting to heat up.
Two different potential ways that you can be betting that nightcap tonight. That's Steve Merrill. Check him out at WagerTalk. And I'm also wondering, what are you thinking about this O's and Angels game? And I'm also wondering what you're thinking about the game that Jimmy Adams is about to break down, because after the bats have been hot for Philadelphia, Jimmy, they definitely went silent resoundingly yesterday in San Diego. So I'm wondering, how are you going to be betting this game? And I want people to hop below in the comments and tell us as well. But as far as the expert goes, Phillies, Padres, please tell me my Phils are bouncing back.
Well, so we hit the Phils on Monday with the big game breakdown, and I'm going to look at the total. So I don't know if your Phils are bouncing back, but obviously, look, the Padres desperately trying to make a wild card push. It's not looking like it's going to happen. Philly's sitting pretty comfortably in the playoffs, although they don't want to get too comfortable. So the Phillies were shut out yesterday. They run into a real tough pitcher to score off of today, and Michael Wacha. 2 runs or less in 13 of his past 14 starts. A guy whose pitching run value sits in the 97th percentile. And the crazy part is that for how outstanding Wacha has been this season, Zach Wheeler's analytics are significantly better. They're off the charts. They're as good as any pitcher I've seen from an analytics standpoint. Wheeler's profile, look, he doesn't grade out poorly in any category. I mentioned Wacha ranks in the 97th percentile in pitching run value. Well, Wheeler's in the 96th in the same category. He has an elite chase rate, WOBA, low velo. He doesn't walk anyone. And those are just a few of the many, many strengths in Wheeler's repertoire. He also has a WAR of 5.4, which is incredible. Look, he gave up 3 on just 5 hits, kind of unlucky in 7 innings when he faced the Padres earlier this season. So enough said. I like the under in the first 5. I like the under in the game.
Muted, Dan.
It would help if I wasn't muted. Yeah. So
Jimmy
as
was
you
so
heard
concise,
there,
man. He caught you off guard with that closing. It was
I know. Well,
concise.
that's the second that he said, I don't know if they're bouncing back. I muted and I said, "What the is this guy?"
I
No,
know, yeah,
I'm just-
exactly. See, you've upset the host, Jimmy. You've upset the host.
Yeah, exactly. Like Steve knows, when you come on, you break down the Phillies, you just throw me a bone and say they're going to win.
Exactly right.
But no, man. The thing is after seeing him go, what was it, 8-0 yesterday? Yeah, so
Yeah.
surprising to say the least. But I'm sure the Padres fans were loving it. They were probably saying that's what's in. If you remember that series and how that broke down. All right, guys, best bet time here already. I'm loving our pace of play that we're hitting here. So, Brandon, I'm going to throw it back up your way because I don't know the last time you came on this show and didn't have a pitching prop for me. So, the fact that we're talking a side here in the Mariners and Reds, I'm intrigued. What do you got?
Yeah, just to go back to Jimmy's point, I rank all the starting pitchers, and I have Zach Wheeler, the third best pitcher in Major League Baseball. I mean, his peripherals are incredible. He's probably the best pitcher that most people, the casual baseball fans, have never heard of. But what a great pitcher he is. So great analysis from Jimmy on that one. I'm going to go to the Mariners and the Reds today. And the reason I am is because if I had told you 5 days ago, what do you think the chances are that the Reds do a 3-game sweep of the Seattle Mariners? You probably would have put me in a mental institution, but we're on the brink of that because the Reds have won 2 games in a row against the Mariners team that's fallen to second place. They're clawing their way into the playoffs. I mean, they're setting records, and this is a really good team. today they have a great pitcher going, and Gilbert is the guy to get them back on track. He's got a 105 whip. He's allowed 2 runs or less in 4 of his last 5 starts. And unfortunately, against the Reds, he doesn't have much of a track record that we can look into. And the opposing pitcher, we don't really have much data to go on for him either. Richardson is going to start for the Reds. The Reds have been decimated. Their whole rotation, their 4 starting pitchers in their rotation are all out right now. Most of them have COVID, and they're just kind of bringing up whoever they can right now. And Richardson, he's a converted relief pitcher. He's got a 175 whip. And he's only averaging 1.8 innings per start. In his last 2 starts, he hasn't gotten out of the 5th inning, which does not bode well for this overworked bullpen. Yesterday, the Reds and the Mariners had a real crazy, wacky game, up and down, back and forth, and both teams really exhausted their bullpens. And I like when the bullpens are exhausted, I like to take the team with the better bullpen, because obviously the further down in depth you go, if you have a rotten bullpen, the worse and worse it's going to get. If you have a solid bullpen like the Mariners or like the Rays, you can dig down a little deeper and still produce some quality outs with your depth of your bullpen. So I really like the Seattle bullpen advantage here, and especially their starting pitcher advantage. Huge advantage. They have one of the better bullpens. Everything here points to a Seattle victory. I am going to take the -1 alt run line. So some people, if you don't know what a -1 run alt line is, basically if the team wins by 1, you get a push instead of a loss, which is the -1.5. You can knock down the juice a little bit. I think the -1 for the Mariners today on DraftKings is -140, whereas the money line was -180. So you can knock it down quite a few points there by doing a -1. It's very little risk. As long as your team wins, you're not going to lose any money. And if they win by 2, you get your money just like a regular run line. So I like Seattle on the -1, and this is a 4% client play. I actually have 2 4% client plays, and I gave them both out on this show. So everyone who's watching, you just got my plays for the day. So don't buy my plays if you're watching the show. So that's my gift to you guys for being great listeners. I've gotten some great comments recently from people, and we just really appreciate you watching. So today I'm in a giving mood. Forget about it.
Wow.
My 4% play.
Man of the people, and a timely Fonz reference. Well done, Tokyo Brandon.
Forget about
and
it.
yeah, we do greatly appreciate the comments. We would love to have you hop below and let us know whether you're it's what you're betting, whether it's what you're eyeing for tonight, or you just have questions for these guys or me, the host. We love chatting it up with you down there, and we greatly appreciate it. And while you're scrolling down to that comment box, even if you're telling us that you hate us, we'd love to see that as well. While you're scrolling down there, just hit that like button and subscribe. Don't forget that too. All right, Steve Merrill, you were getting a lot of comments last week because you absolutely lit it up in the free best bets that you were giving out here on the show. So I say we get right back to it. You want to take a look at the Blue Jays and the A's. And man, Toronto had their way with Oakland yesterday. Do we just set it, forget it, repeat it? What are you thinking, Steve?
You can look at a free daytime play. This is an early afternoon game on Wednesday, or mid-afternoon game at 3:30 Eastern. So a little daytime action for you on Wednesday here. And this is a pretty interesting concept here. Let's fade one of the worst teams, not this season, but in the history of baseball, with the Oakland A's. Normally this time of year you have to lay $2 -300 or more to fade some of the worst teams in history. The Blue Jays are only -170. Now, if you want to take it down the run line -1.5, you get even money. But either way, Toronto is the only way to play this afternoon game. To put in perspective how bad Oakland's been this year, they need to go 21-2 the rest of the season, 21-2 the rest of the season, to not have 100 losses this year, which usually makes you one of the 2 worst teams in baseball. They're on a pace right now to lose 113 games on the year. They rank dead last offensively against right-handers in both batting average and OPS. Well, guess what? They face a lefty today, so that's good news. They're only 27th and 28th worst against lefties this season. But the Blue Jays against lefties, because this is a battle of southpaws, is the 3rd and 6th best batting average and OPS teams in the league this year against lefties. So Toronto will keep that red hot offense going today, and it is red hot, by the way. This team has scored at least 6 runs or more now in 9 of their past 10 games. They have double-digit hits now in over half of those games, and they have outscored Oakland 13-6 the last 2 nights in Oakland here. And let's not be fooled by the fact the A's swept the Angels. The only team playing worse right now than the Oakland A's is the LA Angels, who have tossed the town this season. You take out that 3-game home sweep this past weekend, Oakland is just 1-6 straight up in their other 7 games on each side of that. They are not all of a sudden playing good baseball. And I also think the fact that they have a starter on the mound here in JP Sears, who just had a 6-inning shutout against those hapless Angels, is regression time here. Because keep in mind, the 2 starts before that, Sears gave up 13 runs and 18 hits and only 10 innings of work. So I see that hot Toronto offense continuing their ways this afternoon. Only one way to play it, and you're going to lay it at 3:30 Eastern. The Toronto Blue Jays -170 on Wednesday afternoon. And don't forget, we were 3-1, 75% in Week 1 college football last weekend, and the NFL starts this week. My Fade the Public video will be up and loaded this weekend. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts, and go to my page right now and get the next 3 weeks of college and pro football combined for just $7 a day. No promo code needed. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, and to Steve's point, that Fade the Public video, one of the best that you can watch to get ready for the upcoming football weekend. Between that, opening line report, bet on it. I mean, if you want to get ready to bet football, you better be subscribed here to Wager Talk TV. Steve has done a terrific job building that show, and he loves hearing from you in the comments on that show as well. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. If you're subscribed, you'll get a notification when that one drops. And you want to get to it rather sooner rather than later. All right, Jimmy, you're going to get the final word here today, and it looks like we got Pivetta and Glass now in this Red Sox and Rays game. Total sitting around 8. Really hasn't been much movement for us here early in the AM when we're recording. So for you, you like ISOing in on one of these teams to maybe contribute a little bit more to the total than the other. What are we thinking?
I am, Dan. And real quick, I'll just mention on a 5-1 MLB run, and there's an incredible special up right now, 34% off any package that's $99 or more. I think that's good through September 10th. So make sure you take advantage of that. Obviously, a 4% play locked and loaded for this evening. But let's get into it. Yeah, we're headed to Tropicana for today's best bet. With a Rays team total that looks a little low. It was way too low. So the clients and I locked this in at 3.5. It's since been bumped up now 4.5 at DK. I still think that's too low. After their 8-6 win yesterday, Tampa's now scored at least 6 runs in 3 of their past 4 games. And if you look at their season-long numbers, we know the Rays rank 4th in all of baseball in runs scored, as well as OPS. They're tied for 3rd in home runs. So quite frankly, I was surprised to see this number sitting so low, especially with a pitcher like Nick Pivetta on the mound. Pivetta was mostly coming out of the bullpen, and he's given up 5 earned in his past 5 innings. So he doesn't exactly come into this start in good form. And when I take a deep dive in his overall profile, it isn't horrible, but he does grade very poorly in some key analytical categories that I look for, such as Pivetta has an outrageous barrel percentage sitting at 12.3. His hard hit rate is 45.5. He's also an extreme fly ball pitcher, which plays right into the hands of Tampa with the aforementioned home runs. Walks have been a problem for him as well. So we'll see what Boston's bullpen does, but I don't even think we're going to need the bullpen. This probably gets up and over before it gets there. Give me the Rays team total over 4.5 for today's best bet.
Going over for the Rays team total. Pivetta, a guy who I know well, getting taken to the shed maybe a little bit there, says our man Jimmy Adams. And yeah, that Jimmy 34 is a terrific offer. Definitely check that out over his page, #1 in NFL last season. So check that out now. And guys, that does it for a little day game edition here of First Pitch. We'll be back locked and loaded live tomorrow on Thursday. But big thanks to Steve Merrill, Jimmy Adams, and Tokyo Brandon getting you ready to go to bet baseball today. Let us know what you're thinking about the card. And as always, make sure you like and subscribe, because as we mentioned, with all the football, all the baseball, all hockey that's going to be coming your way, we got all the tools to bet all the sports you love right here on Wager Talk TV.